She really had a hunch. Well, she knew that there was another woman in the office that was spreading rumors about her, and it was either time to do something about it or shit it.
Oh, yeah. So there's this girl who sent us an email, and she's at her first real job, so she's real excited. You know, she's a true professional now, but she's the youngest in the office. So she's real conscious about how she handles herself. She's really trying to prove herself, show that, you know, she's a real adult. She's 22 years old, but she's a real adult. And she's got a coworker that has been kind of going out of her way to spread some untrue gossip about her, and she doesn't know how to handle it because she's like, well, I mean, I could just ignore it because it's just gossip and I can't control what somebody else does, but at the same time, like, it really doesn't feel good to hear all this untrue stuff being said about me, and also making my professional reputation not look so good either. So, like, I mean, do I bring it to HR? Is it a big enough deal for me to get professional involved, or do I actually just confront her myself?
Mo has got the update.
I decided to take some advice and just have a face-to-face with her. After a bit of pep talk from a friend, I was actually feeling kind of hopeful, thinking that laying out what I'd heard and just asking her outright might get her to open up or at least clarify things. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she will feel bad and apologize. I watched for her to pack her things to leave and grab my things to walk out at the same time. As we were approaching the door, I asked if she could chat for a few minutes. But man, it felt like we were talking to a brick wall. She brushed everything off, basically making it sound like I was overreacting or imagining stuff. Made me second guess myself for a bit. The next day, I saw her deep in conversation with a group. Could have been nothing, but when they all went silent as I walked by, it felt off. Maybe it was just me being paranoid, but it made me feel uncomfortable. With all that, I figured maybe I'd escalate things just a bit like I had originally considered. I decided to get HR involved. See if they could mediate or something. Well, it turned out that earlier that day, she had gone to them to complain about me.
Oh.
Instead of it being about the rumors she is spreading, it just looks like two coworkers who can't get along. We seem like children. Exactly what I wanted to avoid. I'm really just feeling drained by all this. I've been thinking about whether it's worth sticking around or if I should start looking elsewhere. I'm going to give it a few weeks and hope it gets better. But still, keep my options open.
I mean, the common sense, like, knee-jerk reaction is like, look, this is just too tense. You don't want to go to a place that you have to work for 8 hours a day, which is 1/3 of your life, is going to be, like, tense. Just move on. But it ain't easy out there.
No.
It's hard to find a job out there, man.
And you shouldn't have to force yourself out just because one person is acting like this. I'm also wondering, too, like, if she's like this with you, I would bet money that most people know this is what she's like. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is probably not the first person she has done this to. This won't be the last person she's done this to. People who do stuff like that tend to be miserable. Like, it's not about you, it's about them. And what, like, how they're dealing with their own life. So when somebody's acting that way, it's about them. And you are not the only, you're probably not the only victim in her antics.
That's why in situations like these, as unfortunate as it is, I've kind of learned that you just have to ignore it. Because the moment I feel like you start going back and forth and trying to, I guess, compete with this individual, the people who behave this way, you got to go pretty low in order to do that. And they will usually beat you at their own game if you do. So I don't know what you do in a situation like this other than just try to ignore it.
You've gone to HR. I think you've done, like, what you need to do. And now you take Mo's advice.
I mean, when it comes to petty girl drama, it feels like it's going to last forever. And this is, even though it's probably just a small problem, it feels like it takes up all of your emotional energy because you're showing up to work and it's already like, oh, it's Monday morning and I've got to deal with this bee over here. I think she ended up running to HR as a way to deflect any problems that you might bring to them so that you end up looking like the bad guy. I think you just got to ride it out as long as possible. And you know what? If you get to the point like 6 months down the road where you can't handle this, then that would be the opportunity to bounce.
Man, 6 months out of your life is a long time when you're going into a work atmosphere where you really are, just feel the tension.
But also, if this is her first real job, that's going to look so bad to your next employer if you bounce after 9 months or even a year. Sometimes you just got to take one for your own team and just stick it out.
God, for those of you that have to walk into an office every day and just hate where you're going and you can feel the tension. It's the worst, man.
I'm sorry.
And seriously, when you do the math on it, it's 1/3 of your life. If you're getting 8 hours of sleep, it's 1/3 of your life. That sucks.
And by the way, if HR told you that she had come to see them, well, that's an HR violation. Because they're not supposed to
Oh,
disclose
that's
that.
right.
Oh, yeah.
They're
So
not
you-
supposed to disclose that.
You need to go to HR about HR.
Is there an HR? Is there an HR for HR? There should be.
Yeah, HR squared right down it's right down the hall. I don't know, man. So you guys are saying stick it out for a couple of months, see how it all pans out.
Yeah.
Yep, try to ignore it.
Okay.
The Bert Show.